Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of all of the Naval Surface Warfare Center Indian Head Division personnel, I welcome you to this change of command ceremony where Captain Scott Kraft and Captain Eric Carell will conduct the formal turnover of command as required by U.S. Navy regulations. The change of command ceremony is a time-honored tradition, officially marking the continuity of command. The change of command ceremony is unique in that it is a formal transfer of total authority, responsibility, and accountability of command from Captain Kraft to Captain Carell. Guests, please rise and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Scott Kraft, Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division, will give the invocation.
Thank you, XO. Would you please join this layman in an invocation? Lord in heaven, thank you for being here with us today as you are every day, and thank you for our great country. Imperfect for sure, but great nonetheless. Thank you for our preeminent Navy. May we seek to ever more improve and always be ready. And thank you for those that make up this exceptional command, NSWC Indian Head. I pray for those men and women wearing the cloth of our nation, standing watch this very moment around the world, guardians of the freedom we cherish. And thank you, God, for our dear families who are beacons of inspiration and bulwarks of our faithful support. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Military guests may uncover at this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether you are physically here or virtual, whether you're joining us in real time or later, thank you for your presence. You honor this command and this occasion. Admiral Byrne, thank you for presiding. Our guest speaker today is someone that I deeply respect and consider myself fortunate to know closely. He's the commander of Naval Expeditionary Command, Combat Command, leading, training, and equipping over 20,000 sailors around the globe. He is a senior EOD warfighter in the Navy, and he has 8 combat deployments. He is a principled leader that inspires those in his charge and everyone around him. He, like myself, is a smitten husband and a doting father of 3 precious girls. And he is personally a dear friend, mentor, and confidant. no stranger to Indian Head, both the town and the base, Admiral DeGuardo, thank you so much for being a part of today's ceremony.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Gotcha, sir.
Great. Thanks so much. And Scott, thanks so much for that really wonderful introduction. I'm humbled by it, to be quite honest with you. And I could say exactly the same words about you as a friend, as a mentor, as a fellow naval officer, and as a warfighter. So thank you so much. Kevin, thanks for allowing me to be here, and I appreciate your you personally being there to make sure that these two don't get out of hand as they're doing turnover, and I appreciate your leadership. To the SESs and the warriors and civilians that are humble servants of our Navy and our nation, and that find themselves honored enough to be a part of Naval Surface Warfare Center Indian Head, thank you for allowing me to be here today as well. I got to say, I have a personal, as Scott said, and a professional connection to Indian Head. That professional one spans back my entire career, and over the course of my deployments, I found myself multiple times on the phone with the professionals and the experts from Naval Surface Warfare Center Indian Head, like Keith Plumidor and Kurt Deskew, and I found myself getting yelled at a whole lot of times by great men like Tom D. and Brian Brackey and Tom Smith, as I've attempted to apply the EOD trade and support the nation's work. I could not, and nor could our force do so, the entire joint force, if not for the work of the professionals at Naval Surface Warfare Center Indian Head. And so as I was thinking about today, I was so completely honored to be a part of this for Scott and for Eric, who I've known forever. But also I was struck by the legacy that has been laid by our predecessors in that little town on the banks of the Potomac and the Mattawoman Creek. And I look back at the history that was provided by you, Scott, and your team, and I actually was unaware of the depth of which you have been a part of the fabric of the United States Navy and the fabric of that town of Indian Head, professionally and personally as an organization, stretching back to 1890 when the Navy purchased Cornwallis Neck. Right there at the end of Indian Head Highway, which at the time was a dirt road, and moved the Ordnance Proving Ground down from Annapolis, Maryland, from the banks in the Severn down to Indian Head itself. And then I think poignantly, in less than 8 years, Lieutenant Daschle, which was one of the very first officers on board that proving ground, had designed with his engineers and built and incorporated onto all the Navy large rapid fire guns, the Daschle breech, which allowed them to enter into the Spanish-American War and be devastating as a United States Navy. I think there was one minor repair that needed to be done on a U.S. Navy vessel, but because of the incredible work of our predecessors there in Indian Head, the Daschle breach allowed us to sink 77 Spanish vessels. With damage to one of the ships in our fleet. That's amazing, and that says in it itself that you in Indian Head and your predecessors have been a part of and really begun this idea of lethality of the United States Navy fleet, and you began the work to ensure that lethality as far back as in the 1890s. And I was just struck and honored and awed by the depth of that kind of commitment as an organization, and then the continuation of that same passion all the way through till today. As the Navy assigned to the proving grounds the investigation lab there in Indian Head, Maryland, the first exploitation kind of capability in the United States Navy there in 1942. That again marks another kind of milestone and watershed event in which the expertise and the brilliance of our predecessors, your predecessors there in Indian Head, was brought to bear to ensure that we could protect our force, was assure that we could develop the procedures that we need as we looked at our enemy's ordnance, ensure that we could improve our own ordnance and our own lethality, and ensure that we could build out the publications and the doctrine and provide the kinetic effects that ended up being making us successful in Europe and in the Pacific. And you know, in that, the greatest generation was a part of Indian Head, but also the greatest generation at the forefront of the United States Navy benefited from the brilliance and the perseverance and passion of our predecessors. And boy, that, I think that's a lot to be proud of. And also, you know, in 1942, during World War II, we stood up the mine school there, and then eventually the Tech Center, and then finally the EOD school. And I got to say, the accomplishments, you know, the book that Scott and you and the team sent me was incredibly interesting, detailed, and being a budding historian from the Naval Academy, I really appreciated all of the detail that went in it. It was 38 pages of tiny little font that was very difficult to read, but was worth every single minute and sentence. And those accolades and accomplishments have continued throughout the decades, and there's so many that mentioning them would make this speech much longer than you care for me to talk. So, but I will say that, you know, you can culminate some of that into what just happened on December 15th, when after you know, 2 years ago, Scott, you were standing at the podium and you commissioned, and then VCNO commissioned EXU-1 as a commissioned unit of the United States Navy, and then on the 15th they received the Navy Unit Commendation. And that is not only a testament to the leadership that Scott brought, and the leadership and the execution of a tactical mission that the EXU exploiters bring. It actually is a testament to the greatness of the entire organization, which every day goes into our ability to execute at the tactical level, to ensure that we can compete with our adversaries, those great power adversaries that we all have talked a lot about. We've been able to deter those same adversaries because they know that there will be an overwhelming and immediate response to any actions, and we deter them by showing them the great capabilities that you provide our forward-leaning warriors, and we assure our allies because they understand the depth that's behind the power that is the United States Navy. So, and that depth really comes from your bench, and as I said, it has continued through today. You know, as I said, I have a professional connection that I just kind of basically touched on, and Scott mentioned, to both Scott and to the organization. But I have a personal connection to Indian Head as well, as my wife, Chris, and her sister Tracy, who's married to Admiral Brian Brackey, once a commanding officer in the same shoes as Scott and Eric, and in the shoes that I'm, and once an Expeditionary Combat Command commander, and their little brother Pete, who is a retired warrant officer from Naval Special Warfare Development Group as an EOD officer. They grew up right down the street on Potomac Avenue. So literally right outside the gates of the great base that your organization has as its flagpole, and and they grew up in the house that their father Bob Good built, and Bob worked on that base as a part of the Surface Warfare Center, and so they grew up as a part of the family, and I am now a part of that family by my incredible fortune to marry Chris, that you represent now. Their uncle Jerry Hamrick, which I don't think there's even any old timers still in your workforce, Scott and Eric, that would remember him, but he worked there his entire life. His wife Christine still lives on Potomac Avenue, and Jerry, who every time I saw him had a smile on his face, a dirty joke written down on a piece of paper in his pocket so he could tell it to me, and a story about the Tech Center every single time I saw him over the 20+ years that I was fortunate enough to know him before he passed, was again a testament not just to the brilliance, but to the character of the type of individuals that are a part of the workforce at Indian Head. And then I'd say that because of that personal connection, I got to hear about what that base and the organization that you lead really meant to the town. And I've heard and seen pictures of the parades and heard stories of Christine's father and Christine's father getting to ride in a Jeep from the base in his Civil Air Patrol uniform and how proud he was of that. And I've heard stories of you know, of course, McWilliams Ford down the street, John and Diane McWilliams, who were one of the main businesses in town other than the base. And the incredible character that is the town that is weaved from and through what you do there, what you all do as a part of the workforce. Still to this day, part of the town council, Brian Claus and his wife, Erin McWilliams Claus, don't miss the opportunity to call me to tell me not to transfer Scott Kraft. Do not do it, is what they say. And they can't stop but talk about how wonderful the command and the base is to them and those in the area. And I told them eventually the other night that I'm sorry, Scott's got to move on, but I'm bringing in another heavy hitter, another long ball hitter named Eric Carell, who's going to do great work and continue the excellence that Scott and the team have done. So a personal and a professional connection, but that personal connection really allowed me to see the effect that you have as an organization, Scott, and your leadership there at Indian Head and what it's done. You and your predecessors have done to ensure that that excellence continues. So thank you for that, Scott, both from the bottom of my heart, from my family, and from the United States Navy for what you have brought professionally. Scott and Erica came in with their beautiful baby girls, and Scott and I worked together at the Pentagon prior to that, and I was fortunate enough to be in the same part of the OpNav staff with him, where he taught me the ropes and made sure I understand the things I needed to fight for. And then his deep intellect and his incredible passion were what led me to recommend to the leadership at the time that he come and lead the most diverse and I would offer the most difficult 06 command we have in our community, and certainly and I'm sure attested to by Admiral Byrne, the acquisition community and the R&D community. So we were so blessed as a community to have Scott and Erica go there, and he brought with him his philosophy about, you know, things being an infinite game. And I guess what I'd offer is that Scott brought to the table this idea of infinite possibilities. And that it's continual growth and evolution, and sometimes it is continual growth and revolution that changes and improves organizations. And it was that passion and thought process that, Scott, you brought. And I think you used the term iron sharpening iron in your philosophy. And so I know that you're not only brilliant, but you love Game of Thrones, which is a testament to your taste. So I'll say that, really well done. And a couple of the things that I know Scott was focused on, and I think were significant during his time, the renovation and modernization of some of the buildings there, though historic, many of them had waivers on them that had been around for a long time, and Scott took that head on, which might sound like it's not a part of all the warfighting things I've been talking about, but you know what? The infrastructure and the work areas and the safety of the professionals that are the team, this excellent team that you are, is one of the most important things that we can support as leaders. And Scott did that and took it head on and did it very, very well. The opening and construction of the Velocity Lab, I can't tell you what that means, not only to the United States Navy, but to the town of Indian Head and Charles County. I mean, just a really incredible opportunity and a really incredible piece of work, and that includes some of the signings of the centers for industrial and technical excellence and the partnership that Scott's built. That says a lot about not only his confidence in the industrial base to support you and help us leap forward in the technologies and in the development of what we need for our warfighters, but his confidence in you, in how much you can bring to the outside. And you hear often that places like Silicon Valley, and they're the cradles they are the accelerators. And you can hear all those terms, but in fact, where the rubber meets the road and the true test of excellence is what you see right here in front of you. Apologize about that. And thank you, Scott, for doing that. So there's probably a million of them, and I'm not going to go through them all because I'm sure that that you all know these accomplishments that Scott has had. But I want to talk for a second about Eric Carell, who's coming in behind Scott. So Scott, we've been blessed to have Scott for the last number of years, and I think that the command and the support that you've shown him as a leader has meant the success, has equaled the success of those significant achievements, which I know that he attributes to you, not to himself. But in doing such a fantastic job, it was incumbent upon us in the EOD community to ensure we found someone of the same caliber that can continue his great work, and most importantly, give you as a leader the things that you need to be successful. And that person is Eric Carell. That warrior is Eric Carell. So he's coming to you from CTF 75, the most challenging theater in the world today. Our greatest competitor is there, alive and operating every day. And make no mistake, we are at war with them. And Eric led the expeditionary task force there. The number of sailors and the capabilities were broad and big, and he integrated them in a way that none other have in their time at CTF 75. The 7th Fleet Commander took extra time to ensure that I knew that he thought so much of Eric that he wants to make sure Eric comes back and is a part of his team in the near future. And I told him, sorry, I got another team that I'm going to send him to that has always got the World Series bid. So he was disappointed, but he recognizes the brilliance, the excellence, and the leadership that Scott can bring to the table. Excuse me, that Eric can bring to the table as Scott moves on to OSD to look at different challenges for us. And Eric, I am excited and proud that you're wearing the badge and standing there today at the podium. And I got to tell you, it is great to see you move to the next level of leadership, even though it's a bittersweet day as Scott moves on. With that, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I have had, it has just been an incredible couple of days making sure I delivered words that maybe meant something, but mostly honored Scott Kraft and Eric Carell and the men and women who support our Navy and our nation at Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head, and also the town of Indian Head and all of the things that they do to make sure that our people have what they need. So God bless this country. God bless you and your command. And God bless the United States Navy. Thank you for your time, Scott. And John, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Admiral DeGuardo. Admiral Byrne will now present Captain Kraft with his Defense Superior Service Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Kevin Byrne, Commander, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Naval Undersea Warfare Center. Guests, please rise. Military attention to award.
Sure. Thank you.
Secretary of Defense has awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal to Captain Scott H. Kraft, United States Navy. Captain Kraft distinguished himself by exceptional superior service while serving as the Deputy Executive Manager for the Department of Defense Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technology, Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division, and the immediate superior in command for Expeditionary Exploitation Unit 1 from December 2016 to December 2020. During this period, the outstanding leadership and ceaseless efforts of Captain Kraft resulted in major contributions to national security of the United States. He provided visionary leadership with unique ability to span across the joint services and provide guidance between operational forces and acquisition professionals, whether military or civilian. His ability to articulate requirements, acquisition policy, and provide explosive ordnance disposal technology program oversight to the Executive Manager for Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technology and training was essential in supporting the Joint Explosive Ordnance Disposal mission and initiatives. Additionally, he spearheaded the commissioning of Expeditionary Exploitation Unit 1. The distinctive accomplishments of Captain Kraft reflect great credit upon himself, the United States Navy, and the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Given this day, 2nd December 2020, signed Christopher C. Miller, Acting Secretary of Defense.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guests, please be seated. Rear Admiral Byrne and Technical Director Mr. Ashley Johnson will now present Captain Kraft with gifts in appreciation for his service as Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division.
Well, stand before the night, turning over to efficiency, discipline, motivation, morale. You are representative of the things. Above everything else, you are the unified those things. In addition to that, we didn't stop there. What we have here is a prototype because under your leadership as well, part of this business of the prototype now simply just says, use your words together and concept of communication of our efforts. So now you have a prototype.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Scott Kraft, Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division.
Admiral Byrne, thank you for the gift and for this award, one that I'll wear humbly knowing that its merits are wholly the team's. Admiral DeGuardo, thanks for your kind, generous, historical, personal remarks, inspiring as always. Thank you for your genuine, inspiring example and for being a part of today's ceremony. Thank you, sir. And Ashley, thank you, my friend. I'll come back to you in a moment. Mark Twain once said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. So I'd like to propose a corollary and ask Admiral Byrne if I could just have 6 more months in command. I promise my speech will be half as short as it would otherwise be. No? No? Well, it was worth asking. 4 years and 1 day, far longer than I've been able to spend in any one place since I first raised my right hand on July 3rd, 1989. It's difficult to leave. Difficult because there's something extraordinary about this place, and even more so the people. In my comments today, I hope to impart just a glimpse of this remarkability that I've been privy to by simply telling you a little bit about who we are, why I'm grateful, and what I believe. I realize that some watching may rightfully ask, what is NSWC Indian Head? And the Admiral did a great job of talking a little bit about our history. But allow me to offer my answer to that question. We are both a world-class, cutting-edge laboratory as well as the Navy's one and only arsenal. We are a command that has provided for the defense of our country for 130 years. We have the unique and distinct responsibility to provide energetic material systems, those systems which provide our warfighters with range, speed, safety, signature, and end effects, to include lethality, but not always. We do this for every service in the armed forces, in every operational domain, and for any platform. We do it from ideation and phenomenology, basic and applied research, through multidisciplined engineering, prototyping, large-scale manufacturing, and global operational and in-service support. and ultimately through disposal and demilitarization. It is this one-of-a-kind, complex, extensive, ever-changing terrain where Indian Head is not only present, but is uniquely ubiquitous. And we are 2,952 souls, government and contractors alike, technical, operational, business, and administrative. We have folks with over 50 years of government service, and we have folks that recently joined our ranks as recently as this past week. Most of us are here in Southern Maryland, but not all of us. In fact, 22% of us are in 47 locales across 20 different states, to include Guam and Japan. We are fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, grandparents, siblings, and spouses, each individually unique with experiences, talents, hopes, dreams, and feelings. We come together with our solemn, shared, singular purpose, that is, to best support our warfighters that defend our great nation, and to simply give them what they most deservingly owe, what we owe, and that is their most decisively unfair advantage over their adversaries. This is who I've been privileged to be among for these past 4 years, and this is whose company I've been deeply honored to keep. Renowned experts, sterling professionals, and selfless patriots. Here now, as we are on the cusp of putting 2020 in the history books, a year that has proven to be truly challenging for everyone in so many ways, I want you to know that I've counted my blessings, and I offer that when we choose to see them, they are indeed plentiful. I'd like to share with you just a few. I want to start with my mom watching from Anacortes, because this captain has always been a mama's boy. I want to acknowledge Dad watching from his new residence up in heaven. Thank you for your steadfast support and encouragement, and for instilling in me a love of God, family, and country. To the Correll team, Eric, Jen, Charlotte, and Quinn, welcome to your new extended family. Eric, I want to thank you in advance for the solemn salute we'll exchange here in just a few minutes. These past 2 weeks of turnover, you've been an active listener and an eager learner, and I unequivocally assert that you're going to do great things because I happen to have some insights into the team that you're joining. I'd like to thank this amazing community, and there are too many to name, but my heartfelt thanks go out to the Military Alliance Council, as well as the town of Indian Head and our county, state, and federal partners. This community has been a strong supporter of the base for 130 years, and I know that will remain for the next 130. When someone in Charles County goes into the family business, that means they typically come to work at NSWC Indian Head. And it has been my distinct honor to be a part of that family, and I thank each of you for welcoming me into this community and into this family. I want to thank those among us in uniform, the Chiefs Mess in Picatinny, as well as our Joint Service EOD detachments. You all are clear and present reminders of our solemn responsibility. And to EXU-1, like the Admiral said, please know that it was a great honor yesterday for me to present to you a much-deserved Navy unit citation signed by the Secretary of the Navy just last week. Your expertise is niched, your credibility is precious, and your reputation is known across the joint services, the intelligence community, the interagency, and by our allies and partners around the world. To Ashley, our esteemed technical director and my co-conspirator. We've made quite the team. You've taught me much and forbore even more. I am forever grateful for your co-leadership. And after 4 years, I evoke the simile of Lewis and Clark. Faithfully together with our core of discoveries and the insights of Sacagawea, we've been on quite the expedition, driven always onward by a cause known and believed in. Thank you. To the entire command, my sincerest thanks. You have taught me, forgave me, encouraged me, supported me, inspired me, and honored me. I have often had the privilege of administering our oath of office to many of our newer employees, and it is one of the precious things that we have absolutely in common. That obligation that we take freely without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And please know that I deeply respect that daily you earnestly do that which you vowed, to well and faithfully discharge your duties. Thank you. And to my beautiful bride and best friend, Erica. So you all should know that last week, because of COVID, I kindly uninvited her from the ceremony, and that was quickly vetoed. So I fought back, telling her that there's a winter storm warning, and she quickly reminded me that she has a master's in meteorology. So I did what I must, and I played the nuclear option. I said boldly, well, fine, I'm not going to get you flowers. And she said, fine, I don't want flowers. I want jewelry. So instead of jewelry, babe, I picked up a cleat off a dock, right? And I put that right there, an old cleat off the dock. Erica, you're an amazing mom to our three precious daughters, Elsie, Callie, and Mari. And you're an amazing wife. Thank you for everything you do each and every day. I'm forever indebted and in love with you. For this captain, there's absolutely nothing better than tying up safely at the end of a voyage. My grandpa used to say that we order our lives not by what we see, but what we believe. So in closing, I'd like to share with you what I believe, and accordingly, how I've endeavored to order my life these past 4 years. I believe that I've been abundantly blessed, far more than I deserve. I believe we are a remarkable organization of extraordinary professionals entrusted with a vital mission, embarked on unprecedented times of responsibility and opportunity. I believe our challenges are numerous and significant, many unforeseen, yet we are undaunted, and together we will succeed. We have a destiny as storied as our legacy, and we are stronger together. I believe Teddy Roosevelt when he said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." And I believe it is the little things, so easy to do or not do, that often make the biggest difference. I will now read my orders.
Military, attention to orders. Will the official party please cover?
From Commander, Navy Personnel Command, to Captain Scott Kraft, United States Navy. Subject, Bupers Orders 3210. When directed by Reporting Senior, detached from NSWC Indian Head Division as Commanding Officer, and report no later than January 2021 to Office Secretary of Defense, Washington, D.C.
I will now read my orders. From Commander, Navy Personnel Command, to Captain Eric Carell, United States Navy. Subject, Bupers Order Number 1630. When directed by Reporting Senior, detach as Commander, Task Force 75, and report to Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division, for duty as his relief. I relate Captain Kraft and assume duties as Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division, sir.
Guests, please be seated. Official party, please uncover at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Eric Carell, Commanding Officer, Naval Surface Warfare Center, Indian Head Division.
So there's a little bit of danger in conducting a change of command ceremony so recently after Thanksgiving. You always have to help the kids out with their Halloween candy, and then, of course, Thanksgiving, you got to sample everything. So there was a little bit of risk this morning when I put on my service dress blues to make sure they would fit okay, and fortunately, the jacket hides what doesn't fit so well right now. First, thank you very much, Admiral Byrne, for presiding over the ceremony and for providing me the honor to join another outstanding team and to assume the mantle of command again. Thank you, Admiral DeGuardo, for your remarks. Always, as always, on target, center mass, right in the middle of the target. Hoo-yah, sir. To Captain Kraft, Scott, I can't say enough, brother, for turning over such an awesome command and mission. I would tell you that over the last couple of weeks, just seeing what everybody else has said of you and to look at your accomplishments and to look how they saw you off the other day, you certainly are leaving some tremendously large boots to fill. And I can't hope to fill them all the way, but I'll do the best I can to continue on. Thank you very much, brother. To Erica, I will tell you that command is a heavy ruck that you never put down at the end of the day. You and the girls have sacrificed for 4 years, supporting every day, and now you get a little bit more. He'll still put on a ruck, but he can put it down at the end of the day completely. It's a little bit lighter. He'll be done with his march a little bit earlier, should be home earlier, and I really appreciate your sacrifice over the last 4 years to support him. To my wife, Jen, and to my son, Quinn, and daughter, Charlotte, who'll be watching this a little bit later today, I do again ask for you all to continue to sacrifice, to support me as I put the command pen back on this side of my chest again, to provide my responsibility and to support my responsibility to this command, its people, its families, and its mission. So I appreciate you supporting me as I move on. And then finally, last but certainly not least, the TD, Mr. Ashley Johnson, and the crew, the team, the workforce of Indian Head Division, who over the last 2 weeks, even amidst COVID uptick in this area, have really done their absolute best to prepare me as best they can to be able to assume command of Indian Head Division. Such a group of professionals, and I really look forward to joining you and the phalanx alongside you in accomplishment of our mission in support of the Navy. And I do want to anchor in on that mission and that purpose, which the other speakers today have talked to in so many words, and specifically our mission: research and development, test and evaluation, manufacturing, and then providing in-service support of energetics and energetics material. And then also providing joint EOD forces the tools, the procedures, the information so they can respond to those types of energetics or materials, whether our making or someone else's. And the importance of that mission to the Navy cannot be overstated. The Navy exists. The Navy, our Navy, exists to conduct prompt and sustained combat incident to operations at sea. That is the Navy's purpose. And for us here at Indian Head Division, we so much are a vital, important part of that mission and that capability and that readiness of our Navy. Now, I don't want to forget that a lot of our mission is to save lives. If you look at EOD tools and procedures, all of the CAD and PAD work we do, CBRD, and even in peacetime, sometimes supporting other agencies like NASA or the private sector to develop airbags for vehicles. But also, what this command does is it provides weapons of sufficient capability and lethality in order for us to be able to deter, defend against, and if necessary, defeat our peer adversaries at sea and ashore. The Navy needs this command, the Indian Head team, and its workforce of engineers, of scientists, of technicians, of the entire workforce, and all that support the mission here, to be able to build devices not only that save lives, but offer our Navy, our fleet, weapons with the range and the speed and the terminal effects to be able to defeat an adversary. Yes, there absolutely have been other advances in technologies, which I absolutely applaud, but nothing has replaced the need and the ability to harness the power of chemical reactions, organic and inorganic, to deliver effects on the battlefield. Now, our nation has balanced the roles and responsibilities and partnership of the private industry and the public industry for centuries, and how we should handle energetics and cooperate and share that responsibility. And for Indian Head Division, here we will continue in peacetime to be able to maintain that capability and to be able to also do what the private sector can't, won't, or shouldn't do. And in wartime, or right before wartime, we will be ready to surge and help out private industry while we ourselves provide the support that our fleet needs, the energetics and the capability that's so necessary for our Navy. Now, I would tell you that I really do look forward to getting to know the workforce that is so dedicated and the community here in Indian Head, which has such a rich history and a long devotion. It truly is a family. And I look forward to jumping on in and getting to know everyone here and what we do and being part of this mission. And in closing, I will say, for 130 years, Indian Head has been here. From a proving ground to a powder factory, propellant manufacturer, ordnance station, laboratory across the creek, EOD school stood up, which, dating myself, I actually attended before they moved it down to Florida, so I am an Indian Head EOD school graduate, and the EOD Technology Division, and the merger through ordnance and ships to be NAVC, and now what the command is today here in Indian Head, a field activity and warfare center. We have been here, and we will be here to provide the capability that our Navy needs to conduct prompt and sustained combat incident to operations at sea. It's an honor to join the ranks. It's an honor to join the family. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our change of command ceremony. Thank you for joining us for this special event.